minute I need to film, someone opens their garage, car drives by, people walk by cussing. Welcome to Epicc Online. Good morning, Epicc students. Let me start off with a question. Have you ever noticed something for the first time? Now, I know some of you are like, well, when I went to Disney World, it was blah, blah, blah. No, I mean, like, have you ever noticed something that you have passed by time and again until finally one day you actually notice something and you're like, how did I miss this before? I mean, all of us spend time outside. Every night, I'm sure some of us go out. If you come to Epicc on Wednesday nights, you leave at the nighttime. When was the last time you actually looked up in the sky and were just amazed with the stars? Have you ever done that? That was my stress relief for a long time. If you just stare up there, especially away from light pollution and all that, and you just look up and you could like put your thumb up in the sky, and where you pull it away, where your thumb was, there are hundreds of stars there, and you're just like, wow. Blown away with something that you haven't seen and yet you've passed by time and again. Or maybe it's your cell phone. I mean, even as tech aware as most of you guys are, there are those moments where we catch something or we notice a new function that has been on our phone forever. It's just the first time we've noticed it, and it's like you're looking at a whole new device. It was in front of you the entire time, we just didn't notice it. Sometimes we can be oblivious of things that were right in front of us the entire time. And that's where I want to start off today. Where I want to start off today is with this one statement. Sometimes we can be completely oblivious of something that was right in front of us the entire time. The last couple of weeks we've been talking about Moses and going through Moses' life. The reason why is he is such an important person of the faith for us, and yet makes mistakes over and over again. I mean, we can look at our list of mistakes and be like, yeah, I've screwed up time and again. But have you ever murdered someone? If you have, don't tell me. I don't want to know. In my head, you are all innocent and perfect. Just kidding. But have you ever murdered someone? Because Moses, this great person of faith, murdered someone. He stood before God and God is giving him the entire plan, and Moses is like, no, I can't do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not good enough to do it. I mean, have you ever argued with God in that kind of way? Moses' life is marked with miracles and it's marked with mistakes. Now, where we're going to pick up in Moses' story today, we're fast forwarding several years down the road. He has gone to Pharaoh. He has done all of the plagues. The Hebrews have been set free, and Moses has been on a long journey now. God has split the Red Sea. He has provided manna and quail from heaven, and now they are going through the desert trying to get to the promised land. And that's where we're going to pick up our story, starting in Exodus 17. But before we jump to Exodus 17, this is what I need you guys to do with me. You are going to lift up both of your arms. If you know the story, you know where I'm going with this. If not, just lift up your arms as I go through this and don't drop them for any reason whatsoever. Exodus chapter 17, starting in verse 8, says this: While the people of Israel were still at Rephidim, the warriors of Amalek attacked them. Moses commanded Joshua, choose some men to go out and fight the army of Amalek for us. Tomorrow I will stand at the top of the hill holding the staff of God in my hand. So Joshua did what Moses had commanded and fought the army of Amalek. Meanwhile, Moses, Aaron, and Hur climbed to the top of a nearby hill. As long as Moses held up the staff in his hands, the Israelites had the advantage. But whenever he dropped his hands, the Amalekites gained the advantage. Moses' arms soon became so tired, he could no longer hold them up. Have you ever felt overwhelming pressure? Now, I've said this before, but especially you teenagers from our youth ministry and in California, I've found that in SoCal, your schedules are so overwhelming. Sometimes talking with you through your schedules and what is required of you, I get overwhelmed for you. I mean, it seems like every night of the week you have some extracurricular activity that you have to do that demands your time, besides all of the school stuff, which to me goes way above and beyond some of the stuff that has been done before. But have you ever been there where you just feel so overwhelmed? Let me give you an example. I'm sure some of you guys have been there before. You have a test coming up at the end of the week. Some of you guys are like, I'll fail it. Some of you guys, you like to study, you like to prepare, you want to pass your test. But on top of that test, you also are part of a team and your coach expects you to come to a certain amount of practices. And then you have 2 games on Monday and Tuesday that you have to go to as well. Plus, you have your homework for the week and you have a report that's due on Thursday. So you're juggling your sports schedule, your school schedule, your test prep, your report, all of your homework, and you just feel overwhelmed because you just feel like you don't have enough time. On top of that, you get home and your parents inform you that, yes, you did the dishes last night, but you didn't do a good job, and that is your first priority right now. I'm sure some of you guys have felt that point where you just feel like you are so overwhelmed, you can't really breathe. And some of you are like, I would like to breathe, but that's going to take away some of the time that I have to study for my test. Imagine how Moses feels in this moment. He is holding up his arms, and every time they start to drop a little bit, he watches people die. I mean, this battle doesn't go on for like a few minutes. This battle goes on for hours and hours, and maybe even at some point, depending on where you guys are now, if you're still holding up your arms, you're starting to feel your muscles strain even a little bit. Imagine Moses' pressure as he realizes after doing this maybe an hour or two and his arms start to fall, that every time he does, he just lost another friend. And every time his arms start to drop, all of that pressure, his body is killing him, and yet he knows if I let my arms drop, people are going to start dying. He is literally holding their life in his hands. And then it continues and it says this. So Aaron and Hur found a stone for him to sit on. Then they stood on each side of Moses, holding up his hands. So his hands held steady until sunset. As a result, Joshua overwhelmed the army of Amalek in battle. I mean, think about that. In that moment, maybe he has been there for an hour or so and his arms are getting tired. And Aaron and Hur come up and say, hey, we got a seat for you. We want you to sit down. Hey, give us your hands. We will help you hold up your hands. We will carry some of your pressure. He was overloaded and found strength from these 2 guys. And that brings us to what I want to talk to you guys about today. When you are overloaded, when you are overwhelmed and stressed out, who has your back? Who do you have in your life that strengthens you and says, I will help you carry this burden? You're not in it alone. I mean, it's like we've said at the beginning. When I asked you, do you notice things sometimes that you've missed time and time again? I believe for some of us, when we're talking about these things and we're talking about God's miracles, I want you guys to realize that sometimes God's biggest miracles are right in front of us, and we just fail to see it time and again. So who has your back? I want to talk about 2 key groups that should have your back. And the first one, if you know the story of Moses, then you might be aware of this person. If you don't know the story of Moses, this person that held up his hand, the first one, Aaron, he has a significant role in Moses' life. He has been with Moses from when he went and confronted the Pharaoh to all the way through leading them through the desert. Aaron was Moses' brother. And one of the first groups, and as I say this, some of you guys already know where I'm going, and you're feeling that, oh, he's going to say it. The first group of people that have your back is your family. I've talked about my family and especially my brother Joel a lot growing up. And growing up, we were constantly at each other's throats. It's about 3 years difference between us, and he is the younger brother. I'm the oldest of 3 brothers. And me and Joel just fought all the time. And especially as we got older, we would fight and fight and fight, and it would get to the point where someone would get injured. I don't know if you've been there before, or maybe your sibling fights aren't that bad, but we would always fight until someone got injured. Sometimes it would require the hospital visit, sometimes not. But we did. We constantly fought and bickered over everything, from who was going to spend time on AOL first, the dial-up modem and all of that annoying noise, yes, to who was going to ride in front in the car. We would fight consistently. But then there was this time at youth group where there was a group of kids in our youth ministry growing up, and they decided they wanted to create this group, this clique. And over time, this clique, as weirdly as it is in a youth group, became almost like a gang. They had each other's backs, and they would take out those that they didn't like or those that disagreed with them. And so I remember one time my friend was joking about this group. They called themselves the Family, and he was joking about them. And then when we left youth group that night, there's my friend. They have him pinned down. They're jumping on his belly. They're pushing him around. They're giving another friend an atomic wedgie. And we're talking, we are teenagers. This is a little overboard. And so I'm watching this going, well, this isn't right. And so I walk up. I'm like, hey, guys, you need to stop. Guys, come on. Seriously, we're at a church. I am the level-headed one. Guys, we need to. And then someone knocks me to the ground. I'm getting dragged along. Someone's ripping my boxers because they're trying to give me an atomic wedgie. They're pushing me around. And then someone grabs my arms, pins them behind my back, and knocks me to the ground, knocks the wind completely out of me, and then pushes pressure on me. And I remember sitting there going, I am at youth group. What the heck is going on? And people are passing by going, hey, Josh, how you doing? Because they thought we were just messing around. And I'm sitting there, and as I feel the air leaving my lungs, I'm like, okay, I can't breathe. And they're putting more and more pressure on me, thinking it's funny, but I hit a point where there was no air coming back into my lungs. And all of my other friends are being bullied and picked on by this group. In the corner of my eye, I see my brother Joel. His eyes meet my eyes, and I didn't need to say anything. I saw him walk away, and then I see him fly over as fast as he can. He runs, he picks up speed, he jumps up into the air, and elbow drops the person that has pinned me to the ground. And then runs away because the person was significantly bigger than Joel and chased him down saying, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill you. It was funny, but in that moment, in that point where he saw his older brother in need of help, I didn't need to ask for anything. I didn't even need to get his attention. He saw that there was a need, and he came to my rescue. Our fights, our bickering didn't matter. He wanted to help his brother. And see, when it comes down to it, despite the arguments, Joel had my back. And I know some of you guys are thinking, well, that's not my family. Families have lots of issues. But as a whole, sometimes we blow our family into a bigger issue than it really is. I mean, my family has lots of mistakes. We've messed up time and again. But I will tell you, despite it all, my mom and my dad have been there to have my back. They have prayed for me. They have taken care of me. My brother Joel, same thing. He has had my back. We are there for each other. When our little brother Trevor came along, there was about 12 years difference between me and Trevor. And our family grew up really, really poor. And so me and my brother Joel loved Trevor so much, and we wanted to take care of him and have his back no matter what. And so around Christmas time, we would chip in extra money just to provide better and bigger gifts for him so he experienced the joy of it all. See, despite the arguments, despite the bickering, despite the annoyances, God gave us our families to have our back. You might not see your family as a gift, but they are. To really understand that, you need to stop seeing them as your enemy. To stop seeing them as people that are annoying or are out to get you, and start to rely on them and start to lean on them. I mean, when was the last time you actually went out of your way to pray in your personal walk in time with God for your family members? When was the last time you actually walked up to maybe your mom or dad or brother and said, hey, what can I pray for you for? God gave us our families as a gift. The second group would be our friends. Now, of course, you guys know where I was going with this. You're like, duh, of course, I know. I mean, we go to our friends for everything. They are the people that we rely on. But the question I want to ask you guys is, are you going to the right friends? See, there's a lot of people in our life that we would attribute the name friend to that wouldn't really have our back. I mean, we have friends sometimes based out of convenience. They have a car and they can drive us around, so of course I'm going to hang out with them. Or maybe they have money. I had friends growing up that would be like, hey, Josh, let's hang out. You know, I'm busy. I will buy you dinner at Olive Garden. Heck yeah, I'm in. Free food. Would you really consider those friendships real friendships? What about friendships based on popularity? You might not be able to stand the person, but everyone in your friend group is hanging out with that one person. And so you're like, I will put up with them just because my friends do. See, sometimes we call people our friends and they don't show any signs of real friendship. They don't really have our back. I mean, I had a lot of these growing up, people that I would hang out with and be around because of popularity, because of status, or because other friends were just hanging out with them, or because I wanted to say that I had friends. But down the road, a year or two or even more, when I start running into troubles, when I start running into issues, they are nowhere to be found. They don't have my back. Those that do, I can count on a couple of fingers. But even so, those are important. William Penn had to say this about friendships. He said, a true friend freely advises, justly assists, readily adventures, boldly takes all patiently, defends courageously, and continues a friend unchangeably. I mean, when I look at my group of friends, the ones that really have my back, there are only a few that really identify with that. What about you? Do you, with all of your friendships or maybe your lack of friendships, do you have those friends that'll defend you? Those friends that'll assist you when you really need it? Those friends that give you advice? Here's the biggest key to a friend. Do you have a friend that'll confront you when you are doing something wrong? Or really give you advice even though they know it's the last thing you want to hear? Those are true friends. The ones that say stuff because they care about us, and they don't say stuff because they just want to hear a yes out of us, or we just want to hear a yes out of them. Some of my biggest friends have been the ones that have said, hey, Josh, you know you're wrong in this. Yes, I know I am. As I said, there were only a couple of close friends that I would consider identify with that quote. And one of them you have heard time and again. His name is Paul. Now, as a side note, a little pitch for Wednesday nights. Wednesday nights after the message streams, we do meet on Zoom with a bunch of the students. So if you guys want to do that, do a game, possibly win some prizes. And we have some guest speakers on the Zoom chat Wednesday night, 7:45. If you're interested, let me know. But this week, Paul is actually going to be one of our guest hosts chatting with us. So you get a chance to meet Paul if you haven't met him before. But Paul is one of those friends that I've had over the years. And sure, as a teenager, we had our ups and downs. We had weird times. He went through a punk phase. I went through I don't know what it was called, but I would wear pants that were like 4 or 5 sizes too big and shirts that, I could house a family in. We went through weird phases together. Sometimes we fought, sometimes we disagreed, sometimes we went girl crazy and would push each other away. But over the years, especially as we've gotten older, we have had each other's backs. We can go a month or two without talking to each other, but when we do connect, it is just like those old times. And the best part is we are there for each other. If I'm going through something, I know I can reach out to Paul and he will respond and he will pray with me through it. And he knows the same. We also challenge each other in our daily walks, in our family lives, and in our ministry. I have very few friends that have been with me through it all, but he is one of those that I know when I am holding my arms up and being weighed down by the world, he is there to say, hey, I got you. Let me help you hold this. Who are your supports? Who has your back? I mean, during life, that is huge. But even now, where we are in this crazy season of life, where we are barely leaving our houses, who still has your back? It's even more important than it was before. Because as we've said over and over with Epicc and at church, you are not meant to go through this life on your own. God has provided people and friends for you to help you carry on, to help you carry the load, to help you with your burdens. But here's the biggest thing that you need to realize. They need this as well. Those people that you would consider that close friend to have your back and help you with that burden, they need the same. We can complain about our family all we want and say that they're not there for us, but are you there for your family? Especially during this time, but all throughout life, are you there helping them? Are you there praying for them? encouraging them? What about those friends that you consider true friends? A lot of times we'll sit there and be like, yeah, but they're not reaching out to me. Do you know they could be sitting on the other side saying, hey, they're not reaching out to me. Don't wait for them to reach out to you. Reach out to them. Even today, those people that you would be like, this is a true friend of mine, and I don't want to lose that, and I don't want to put it in jeopardy. Let them know you have their back. Talk to them. Pray for them. See if there's anything in their life that you can lift up their hands for. Because too many times we wait for them to do it to us. And we feel empty and broken when they're not doing it. But they could be going through something now, and you can be that friend that comes to their rescue, that comes and says, I have your back. I want to help you through this. Are we doing that? So again, in closing, I ask you guys this question. Who has your back? Sometimes we look for big, grand miracles. God, show up in these mighty ways, provide these amazing things for me. And God is like, hey, I've already provided some amazing miracles for you. But you're missing them. You're looking for big things, and I've put these things in front of you. We're looking for these people to have our back, and God's like, I provided good friendships for you. I provided a family that can help carry you through. Are you opening your eyes to realize what he has in front of us? Who has your back? God, I pray that you be with each and every student within the sound of my voice, and that you would help us. If any of us are struggling friendship-wise, if any of us are struggling with just feeling alone, feeling like we're carrying this overwhelming burden on our own, I pray that you would remind us, first and foremost, you have blessed us with a family, that we wouldn't see them as the enemies, but that we would be a help to them and they would be a help to us. And then I pray that you would bring to our head certain friends that we know we can rely on. They are our true friends, and that we would go to those friends. And first off, we would start by assisting them, seeing what we can pray for them for, what we can help them through. And that we would see a friendship develop, that we would know they have our back and we have theirs. You created us not to go through this life alone, but you have blessed us with people to help us carry the burdens. Help us to see that in your name. Amen. All right, students, that is it for today. Don't forget, on Wednesday, we stream the message at 7 p.m. And then at 7:45, we have the Zoom chat where you guys can win some prizes. We're going to play some games and do just a quick recap teaching thing. And we have our special guest speaker, Paul. So I hope to see you guys Wednesday. Love you guys.